Another day, another transfer rumour, and yet another striker linked to West Ham United. This guy must be player number 30 or something. However, I do feel this one has a bit more credibility and weight to it compared to some of the names we've seen linked to our club in the first 2 weeks of the window. And I'm looking forward to discussing this one actually. So we're going to do the rumour, then we're going to talk about the player a little bit. I'm going to then promote Stocks FC. Then we're going to get a bit geeky. I've got a couple of graphics regarding Rodrigo Muniz as well. Then we're going to talk about Maximilian Hans, who reportedly is having a big role in January transfer window, and he is the one supporting Graham Potter. They're working closely together to identify the striker they want to bring in over the next couple of weeks. And it's up to David Sullivan and possibly Karen Brady to go and get this deal done. And I'm also looking forward to discussing that as well. But before we get into it, if you're new to Hammers Chat, please do subscribe. Gonzo made a good point actually. Even if you think you've subscribed, make sure you have, because if you don't subscribe to your channel but you keep watching videos, they keep popping up on your recommended feed, so you never will actually subscribe. So just check you have. Go underneath this video, it's free and it takes 2 seconds, and while you're down there, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up as well. Both things help out the channel. Right then, the actual transfer rumour, you've probably seen it, but for those that haven't, we're being linked to Fulham striker Rodrigo Muniz. The rumour is that we want him on loan with an option to buy, and the other side of the rumour is that Fulham are perhaps willing to loan him to West Ham, but it must contain an obligation rather than an option to buy, and the value would be 30 million. So Fulham supposedly, reportedly, these are not my claims, are happy for him to go out on loan, but then you've got to buy him for 30 million in the summer, whereas we would prefer an option. In regards to my thoughts on the rumour itself, it's coming from ex-West Ham employee as well as Jacob Steinberg, so in terms of the West Ham side of reporting, there's a bit of credibility to it, and I'm inclined to believe it because I think it ticks a lot of the boxes as to what we're looking for in a striker. In regards to the names we've been linked to so far with the likes of Awoni and Andre Silva, I think this is possibly the best player that we've been linked to so far. This is the one I look at and think, all right, now we don't have the injury issues that the others contain. It doesn't come with the incredibly huge wages and potential disruption that Marcus Rashford would bring. Just transfer rumours, by the way. I'm not saying we're going to get these players. These are the ones we've been linked to. It doesn't come with uncertainty of can he do it in the Premier League like Andre Silva would, as well as the injury record as well. So I think Muniz is possibly the best striker we've been linked to in the January transfer window so far. However, I feel 30 million is a bit steep from the club that's signing him. But if I was a Fulham fan, I'd absolutely want that valuation on him. I'm not even sure I'd be willing to do this deal because they got done over a little bit as a fan base at the end of the summer transfer window with Stansfield leaving on the very last day and didn't have time to bring in a replacement. So they can't have that happening again. So I think if we are serious about this, we're going to have to move quick. We're going to have to try and get this deal done now so Fulham can then go and spend money and bring in a replacement. Because as we see, he's like second choice at the minute. I'm not convinced he is. I appreciate Jimenez is starting the games at the moment, but I feel like they're both number one choice to some extent. They're just alternating rather than it's Jimenez's shirt and that's it. If he was to remain at Fulham, I think he will start a reasonable amount of games between now and the end of the season. And he's still quite young. He's 23 years of age. I think you can forget that because you feel like you've seen him for a couple of seasons now. And I think it's a bit like Nicholas Jackson. I think people forget Nicholas Jackson is only 23 years of age. I think we forget sometimes how young Mohamed Kudus is because he's been around for such a while. He feels older, if that makes sense. So in regards to Muniz, yes, I'd have him at West Ham, 30 million. If it was 20, I'd be up for this one, right? 20 million, I said, yes, get this done. This looks like a good deal. 30 just feels a bit expensive. But I've also seen our club spend 25 million on Fulkrug. This one feels like a safer bet. Regardless of what we do in this window, we're going to have to bring in a striker in the summer as well. So we can get one done now. That would be beneficial. I'm okay with a stopgap, by the way. I'm okay with bringing in somebody that will do until the summer, and we can go again in the summer and bring in a substantial striker, because that's what we need. We're going to need somebody that can. We're going to need to spend big on a striker in the summer. the only way we do it now is if we can possibly do this whole loan with an obligation thing. It does make me query the old rumour that we bid 40 million for John Duran. I don't want to turn into Matt Letizia, but you know, if we bid 40 million for John Duran, why can't we then spend 30 million on Rodrigo Muniz now? That's the Matt Letizia meme. I might pop it in. Anyway, that's the rumour. That's kind of my thoughts in it. We're going to go into Muniz a little bit more. Before I do, just want to point in direction of Stocks FC, who are the sponsors of this video. Stocks FC are a platform where you can purchase stocks in your favourite players with the aim of witnessing them scoring goals and grabbing assists in real matches, and you get rewarded for that. Now, I've gone and purchased stocks in a player today, and I'm going to show you who I've done it in. Myself and Gonzo are going to be showing you our portfolios between now and the end of the season, who we're purchasing stocks in, hopefully being rewarded for it, because if they're in team of the week, team of the month, you will get paid out in dividends, depending on how many stocks are available on the player and how many stocks you own on that player. Liam Delap has proven quite good for me so far. Funny enough, the person who's top of the percentage change today is Awoni. So I think there's a few people purchasing stocks ahead of a potential move, whether it be to West Ham or someone else. But that's not who I've got stocks in. It's Rasmus Højlund. You can see there in the bottom left that Højlund is highlighted. I've gone and got 5 stocks in him today. They're playing Southampton tonight. As you can see, his price has dropped to 92 pence at the minute. It was up at over £1.60, as you can see there. So fingers crossed he can have a good game tonight and put himself in the running for team of the week, and I'll be sitting happy. Isak's another player I've got stocks in, and as you can see just above Højlund, his is going up. There is an IPO on Ben Johnson currently, so there will only be 5,000 stocks. Here's part of the platform. You can see Ben Johnson's there. It's 25p per stock in Ben Johnson, 571 sold so far, but there will only be 5,000. It's capped at 5,000, and any unsold stocks go away. You can't buy them at a later date. So say there's only 3,000 stocks sold in Ben Johnson, the other 2,000 are discarded. You cannot obtain them. So the only way to obtain stocks in Ben Johnson going forward is buying them off somebody that currently owns Ben Johnson. But we've got an offer to get you started, to ease you into the platform, because it can be a bit daunting when you join something like this for the first time. But the link's in the description below, or you can scan the QR code that's on your screen now. And if you join up using our link, you will get 5 players on loan for the month. So you'll get a month worth of 5 players. And if they're in team of the week and they get paid out in dividends, you will also get paid out. You will get 1 share for free and 5 players for 1 month, just to ease you into the platform so you can have a little play around with it and see what's going on. I'm having fun with it. Rasmus Højlund, hopefully he can do well for me against Southampton tonight. Right, moving back to Rodrigo Muniz. Keep getting muddled up. Been watching a lot of his footage today. I watched all these goals in English football, all 21 of them, I think it was. Didn't realise he had a loan spell at Middlesbrough. Don't know why I would know that, but he scored a couple of goals for Fulham in the English Football League against the likes of Stoke, and then he was scoring goals for Middlesbrough. Loves a cross, by the way. Most of Muniz's goals are coming from crosses, whether it be with his head, his foot, a lot of ugly, scrappy goals, but I like them because it's about his positioning, it's about his movement, his reading of the play. He looks... I've got an opinion of him anyway because of what I've seen him do in a Fulham shirt in the Premier League. I hadn't seen him do anything in a Fulham shirt in the Championship. So, pre-Premier League, I don't know anything about him. A bit plasticky, I know, but I'm just being honest with you. So my opinion on him's formed of what he's done in Fulham shirt, and I'm suspicious because last season was very much a purple patch where Jimenez was a striker, wasn't scoring, Muniz went in, goal, player of the month, and it felt like they dried up towards the end of the season. This season, it's taken him a little while to get up and running, and Jimenez at the minute is starting for him. But like I said, I do feel like he'll get plenty of opportunity, and he's only 23. I've been impressed by his pressing. When I watch Fulham, his pressing's good. He works hard. Doesn't mind pulling the trigger. I remember last season he was at the top for shots inside the 18-yarder. Again, a reflection of his ability to read the game and get into the right position. And I've always find sometimes, Nicholas Jackson gets mocked for missing big chances, and I'll always defend strikers that miss big chances to some extent because they're getting there. They've read the play, they've timed their run, their movement's fantastic, and you can work on finishing. Coaches can improve players' finishing. So if a striker's doing everything right, but when they're in and around the box and pulling the trigger, that part needs worked on, I'm okay with that. I think it's much harder. It must be much harder to coach the movement and timing of strikers' runs and stuff like that. So I think Muniz is ticking a lot of boxes for me. But I'm going to show you some of his statistics now, and then we're going to talk about Max Hans, the guy involved in the statistics. So this is using Football Reference, and it's just comparing Muniz with other strikers in the top 5 leagues of European football and where he sits. Now, this is for the last 365 days. It covers his purple patch for clarity. So as you can see there, for non-penalty goals, he's in the 80th percentile. For shots total, he's in the 90th. So the top 6% and the top 5 leagues in terms of taking shots for the game. Down at the bottom part there, you can see his interceptions, clearances. Aerials 1 is really high, really strong in the air. So he's got that defensive side of him. The middle bit's the bit that doesn't look too great, is passing and is dribbling and so on and so forth. So you're getting someone that's alive in and around the 18-yarder and perhaps not so much out of it. But for probably about the 10th time in this video, he's only 23. You can work on those elements of the game. But while I was on Wisecat, I thought, let's have a little look and see how he compares to anyone, really, in terms of his... Well, I've sorted it by goals per 90. Let me just take that stocks QR code off the screen for a second. So you can see number 1, obviously, is John Duran. Now, I have filtered it so that the oldest player on this list is 23 years of age. So John Duran's on the top there. And on... the second column in from the right, you can see 0.85 goals per 90 minutes, and Muniz sits down there. Now, below Muniz, there's some top players that you'll recognise, Nicholas Jackson being one of those as well. You got Sesko there, 4th on the list, and then you got Ekitike a couple of places below them. So there's some real talent on this list, and 1 or 2 players who I don't know. Like, I don't know Bamba. Okay, I'm not going to pretend I do. I do not know who Bamba is. But there you go. Rodrigo Muniz with the most goals on the list, the highest XG on the list. But like I said, he's 12 goals he's got there. Well, sorry, Sesko's got 19 goals. Unbelievable player too, isn't he? He's just a different beast altogether. So that's how he compares. If you're watching this, you're thinking, oh, well, what about this striker or that striker? Put them in the comments below and I'll reply to some of them. I'll try and reply to them all, but there's 100 people requesting names. I'm not going to get through them all. But if there's only 10 of you, I'll easily reply and tell you how Muniz compares to a certain player in terms of goals per 90 or something. Give me the metric you want and the player you want, and I'll reply to you. Have a little look and give you the answers. Right then. So Muniz, to sum it up, yes, from me, 30 million is too much. If we can reduce that, that'd be good. Option to buy with 30 million, I'm okay with that. Just not an obligation. Bringing players in on loan, options. Sending players out on loan, obligations. That's the rule. In regards to the other rumour, that Maximilian Hans is the one assisting Graham Potter, and Potter is ultimately going to have to say, he suggested it as well, Potter. He isn't shied away from suggesting that he's going to have control, and it's come out that maybe part of the delays between Potter, having that meeting with Tim on the Monday and then being announced on the Wednesday, that 48-hour delay, and why Lopetegui took 2 training sessions, even though he knew he was getting sacked. It was believed it was over contract length, but there was other things as well in the transfer budget, or how they were going to go about the transfer window was apparently one of those things being discussed at length. So I believe it. In regards to Maximilian Hans, I'm all for it. He's the numbers guy, if you like. Worked with Graham Potter. He hasn't. He hasn't even worked with Tim Steiden, I don't think, because he came from Werder Bremen, but he wasn't at Bremen when Steiden was there. Steiden was at Leverkusen. So he brought him into West Ham, and he was in charge of player recruitment and scouting. Well, I say in charge, he was involved in those things at Werder Bremen too. And he's at West Ham. The reason I believe this is because Graham Potter's always had someone next to him So at Chelsea, he had, well, more predominantly Brighton and Swansea, he had Kyle McCauley, who joined him over in Sweden. Now, he didn't join Graham Potter immediately. Graham Potter was there from 2010. McCauley went over there in 2012. So there was a couple of years before he went and joined up with Graham Potter. And he'd already got a couple of promotions by then. So Kyle McCauley joined Graham Potter when they were in the second division in Sweden, and he joined as a performance analyst. Now, you'd imagine, naive me, that second division in Sweden probably didn't have much of a scouting department, so I think performance analysis might have just been a job title to cover everything. You look at the current team, who we're playing next, the players we could bring. You're the guy that's in charge of everything that's not on the training ground, and you analysed everything. It obviously worked. They got their promotion. They went on to play European football. Went to Swansea with Graham Potter, went to Brighton with Graham Potter. Then when Chelsea came knocking, basically with a blank checkbook to get Graham Potter out of Brighton, over 20 million Chelsea spent to get Potter there, bringing some of his staff with him, and McCauley was one of them. So bearing in mind, Chelsea would have said to Potter, who do we need to get out of Brighton? McCauley being there, and when Potter and the likes of Bruno got sacked, Kyle McCauley was kept on at Chelsea. So I think this is a lot of, I don't know what the word is, but in terms of credit of McCauley, it's there. Now, there's some talk we're going to try and bring him in the summer, but for the meantime, he's not here. But my point is, at Brighton, at Chelsea, at Swansea, Graham Potter leaned on someone, McCauley and others, in regards to player recruitment. So the guy with a computer, essentially. I'm not convinced he would switch away from that, Potter. I don't think he's suddenly going to turn into a scout. I think he's still going to use the guy that can use numbers perhaps to identify targets. And at the minute, the guy at West Ham United is Maximilian Hans. So it adds up a little bit, and I might be a little bit naive and a little bit biased, confirmation bias creeping in here, but I believe that transfer rumour, and I'm okay with it. If that's how Graham Potter has had things going at his previous clubs and that's how he wants to do things at West Ham, I don't mind it. The tricky bit is, as far as I'm aware, Hans isn't a scout. He's the computer guy. Kyle McCauley wasn't necessarily the scout itself. You can identify players, but boots on the ground and going and viewing these players is not something he perhaps did. So there's maybe that little bit, which makes me think that we might try and stick to Premier League players who perhaps we've already got knowledge on, or Potter knows a little bit about. And they certainly looked friendly. The Brazilians, didn't they? Muniz and Paqueta looked friendly. Then Emerson went over and Potter was there having a laugh with them. So there was a little bit of a friendly atmosphere between the four of them after the game. So yes, Muniz, I believe this transfer rumour. And out of all the strikers we've been linked to so far, he's probably the one I like the most. It's the rumour I like the most. That 30 million just seems a bit steep, though, because that would be our big signing. If we bring him in January and there's no 30 million obligation, come the summer, I think we might bring in another striker. We'd have to. Antonio's out of contract, Ings out of contract, Fulkrug, you'd imagine, is either injured or on his way back to Bundesliga in one way or another. Maybe not. But even if he was fit and staying at West Ham, you can't trust him. You'd still need to get another striker. But I think, ironically, we'd be going for a lone striker in the summer like Evan Ferguson to come in and compete with Muniz. I think this would be our big signing if it's him. We'll wait and see. But if we had 40 million for Duran, you never know. Anyway, I'm going to disappear from your screen. Remember, if you fancy getting 5 players on loan for free for a month, sign up to Stocks FC, links in the description below, or scan the QR code that's on your screen at the minute. If you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it, and Sky New Hammers chat, and I will catch you in a bit.